At $0, life feels loud. Not physically loud, but mentally loud. Every small expense feels heavier than it should. You wake up thinking about bills before you even get out of bed. Your brain starts calculating constantly. How much is left in the account? Can this wait until next week? What happens if something unexpected happens today? People who have never struggled financially often think being broke is just about not having nice things, but that's not really true. The hardest part is the mental pressure. It's the feeling that one bad day could throw your entire life off balance. And when someone lives under that kind of pressure for long enough, survival mode takes over. Long-term planning disappears. Saving money feels impossible because your brain is focused on making it through the week. That's why a lot of financial advice sounds disconnected from reality. People say things like just invest consistently without realizing some people are trying to survive consistently. And the scary part is how quickly stress changes behavior. You procrastinate more. You avoid checking your bank account. You spend emotionally because tiny moments of comfort start feeling valuable. A simple meal or a random purchase becomes less about the item itself and more about escaping pressure for a moment. That's what $0 really feels like. Not failure, fragility, but then something changes when you finally save your first few $1,000s. Suddenly life doesn't feel as sharp around the edges anymore. You realize money's first real job is not buying luxury, it's buying breathing room. When you have a small emergency fund, unexpected problems stop feeling like full-blown disasters. Your nervous system starts calming down, you sleep slightly better, you stop panicking every time your phone rings. And honestly, this stage emotionally feels bigger than many people expect because for the first time, you don't feel completely exposed to life. But then comes another trap most people never see coming: lifestyle inflation. As income grows, so do expectations. The apartment gets nicer, the dinners get more expensive, convenience becomes normal, and little by little, the things that once felt luxurious quietly become basic necessities in your mind. That's the strange thing about humans. We adapt incredibly fast. The salary you once dreamed about eventually starts feeling average. The car that once made you proud becomes invisible after a few months. And social media makes this even worse because now people don't just live their lives anymore. They compare them constantly. Every scroll becomes a reminder of someone who seems richer, happier, younger, more successful. And comparison is expensive, not just financially, but emotionally. People start buying things they don't even truly want because they're chasing the feeling of being enough. A better watch, a better phone, a better apartment. Not because their life actually improved from those things, but because they wanted reassurance that they were moving forward. Then comes the six-figure stage where people imagine life finally becomes perfect. And yes, many things absolutely improve. You stop stressing over groceries, you can travel more, you gain flexibility. But something interesting happens here. The problems become less about survival and more about identity. Instead of asking, "Can I survive?" you start asking, "Am I successful enough?" The pressure shifts from physical stress to mental optimization. Should I invest more? Should I buy property? Am I behind compared to people my age? Am I wasting my potential? Ironically, having more options can create more anxiety because now every decision feels important. And this is where a lot of ambitious people accidentally trap themselves. Achievement becomes addictive. Every milestone creates another milestone. The promotion feels incredible for a month, then normal, then necessary. Humans are unbelievably good at turning miracles into expectations, and before they realize it, years disappear chasing numbers they never emotionally experience. They delay rest, delay relationships, delay happiness. Everything becomes temporary. I'll slow down after this next goal. But the next goal always appears. Then somewhere around the millionaire level, another shift happens. Money stops being mainly about buying objects and starts becoming about buying time. That's the real luxury most wealthy people secretly value. Not designer brands, not expensive cars, freedom over their schedule, the ability to wake up without immediately belonging to someone else's demands, the ability to say no. And once people experience that level of freedom, they start protecting their time more aggressively than their money. They pay to reduce stress. They avoid draining environments. They become extremely careful about what gets their attention because eventually you realize your life is built from attention. Whatever constantly controls your focus slowly controls your existence. But even at this stage, money still doesn't magically solve internal problems. In fact, wealth often exposes them more clearly. Someone insecure doesn't suddenly become peaceful with more money. They usually become more performative. Someone anxious simply upgrades the scale of their worries. Because money removes certain pressures, but it does not automatically create emotional stability. And then there's the ultra-wealthy level. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions. This is where people assume happiness must become automatic, but reality becomes surprisingly strange. After a certain point, luxury loses emotional intensity. The private jet eventually feels normal. The mansion becomes familiar. Humans adapt upward incredibly fast, so the game changes again. It stops being about comfort and becomes about identity, influence, legacy, power, or sometimes fear of irrelevance. That's why many extremely wealthy people continue working endlessly even after they could comfortably stop forever. It's not always greed. Sometimes it's psychological momentum. Humans become addicted to progress, significance, and winning. And for people who build their identity around achievement, slowing down can feel terrifying because silence forces them to confront themselves without distraction. Which leads to one of the biggest truths about money. Wealth amplifies who you already are more than it transforms you. A grateful person usually becomes more grateful. An insecure person becomes louder. A peaceful person protects simplicity.